And yes, it has started. I share my screen, which is 1. Can you see a PowerPoint template here?
Yes.
Okay, then it's working as it should be. Perfect. Okay, so since it's 13:04, I think we can start. So let me start my presentation here. All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining to our third webinar. It's on Connector as a Service and how to do the testing. And I'm Nazia Hasan. I'm hosting this webinar and I work in Platform of Trust as a product manager. And I focus my interest on developer experience. So in this webinar, we will show you how you can test your implemented connectors with harmonized dataset in production-like environment. We have held 2 previous webinars where we overviewed connector as a service and translator and harmonized dataset. So you can access the recorded videos in Platform of Trust YouTube channel if you want to know some insights about the connector engine. And since this webinar would be a little bit long, showing a couple of steps in demo to show the connector testing, I request you to forward your queries and suggestions to our Slack channel, which is connector engine. And after the webinar, I will send you an email containing links to the recorded session and necessary resources. So here we start. So the question arises that why need the need of connector as a service. So in Platform of Trust, we have 2 specific roles who require the necessity of harmonized data. The first is application developers who want to access and use harmonized data sources in their apps and visualizations. And the second is data providers who want to integrate their data source to some So both set of roles have their own set of limitations to achieve their goals. But in today's webinar, we would focus on the data providers and possible reasons that hinder data providers to integrate data are differences of schema in different data sources, high cost of integration and utilization, and no model or tool to productize and monetize their data. So hence we offer the solution connector engine. Platform of Trust introduces this service. Here for each data source, separate translators or connectors will be available with the aid of Platform of Trust standards and ontology schemas, broker API and individual translators for each data source. Production of harmonized data and consumption will be made much easier. So after you have created a translator or so-called connector, how do you know that it works? So in this webinar, we will show you how you can make a request to a data product using Platform of Trust Broker API and receive the response. So a few prerequisites before you can familiarize yourself with the connector engine is that you need to have basic understanding of Platform of Trust components and APIs. APIs that will be used in these demonstrations are Identity API, Product API, and Broker API. We also recommend that you read our developer guides, specifically the mentioned ones, to get started. So in this demo, we will see the following steps. To demonstrate each of these steps, I will show you a couple of videos. First, create an account in Platform of Trust and obtain BRR token. Second, create an application and data product in the sandbox environment. Third, take a look in the identity network. 4, connecting the created data product with a sensor. And 5, fetch the data product using Platform of Trust Broker API. At this point, I'm ending the PowerPoint presentation, and now I will display you some videos. Can you see this video recording in my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So the first step is that how you can register yourself to Platform of Trust Sandbox environment. To do so, simply go to our developer portal and click Get Started. You will be redirected to the World app, which you can use to create a new app. You need to click Sign Up with Email. Provide your email address, a valid password, then your first and last name. In order to sign up, you also need to remember that you have to read, understand, and accept privacy policy and terms of services of Platform of Trust. Afterwards, you can click on the sign up button. It will create a user for you and authorize your user flow. You also need to give access to the app to read your data in order to continue. Since I already had an account of my own, so I have already logged in into my account. As you can see, this is inside the World app. So the next step is to get the BRR token. This is important for you to call the Platform of Trust APIs. In order to do so, simply open your developer tool from browser. As for example, I'm using Chrome here. Go to the application tab and you may need to refresh your browser. You will see that here now comes the authorization cookie, which contains the BRR token. You simply need to copy this token and then use it in relevant places where you need to make calls to Platform of Trust APIs. You should also keep this into your mind that all BRR tokens expires in 24 hours. So you need to get a new one, which is very simple by simply logging and then refreshing your application browser cookies. Sorry, I seems to have some other things over here, but let me show the second video. So in this so otherwise you will be ID because it will be needed later on. And now we should demo you how you can register an application in the sandbox environment. So simply click on the applications. Now the group ID that you stored, input this thing and give a name to your app, which you will remember. At this point, you don't need to give any input to other fields. So simply the group ID and the name to your application that you are trying to register. Click on Create. After your application is registered successfully, you would see that the pop-up window will give you client ID, client secret, and 2 access tokens for the register application. You must save these informations for future use because they will be needed later on when you would be using Broker API to fetch data using the data product. So save them somewhere where from future you can retrieve them. So the third one, or not the third one, but the second step in the second one is to create a data product. I'm using here Insomnia workspace. So simply give a product code here in the JSON body. And you should remember this product code because when you would be using the product API, in order to read attributes of a data product, you need to give the product code as a parameter. You can see the data context and the parameter context added over here, and Panu in his previous webinar talked about this thing. The resources would be given here later on. You put the group ID that you created. Now comes the most important thing, which is your connector or translator, which you have created to fetch the data product using Broker API. So here you need to give the URL to the server where you have hosted your translator. For this purpose, I am using a demo translator that we have created in our sandbox environment. Then I have given a name to the data product. Also, you need to create an organization public key. This would involve the same translator URL, but it would be ending with .public key extension. So as for example, as you can see that the last one is public.key. And the type would be RSS signature 2018. You don't need to give an image URL, but if you want to, please feel free. And then perhaps give a description that what this data product does. If everything is perfect and okay, when you click on send, you will see that if this is successful, which is we are seeing that 201 created, it will return you with the created data product in sandbox. It will give you an ID. It would show you the product code, and it would also give you an identity ID. You must remember ID for your data product because it will be later needed to make calls to identity API. Now we would see what is an identity network. So an identity network or a digital twin is simply a virtual representation of the physical aspects or identities in your world. As for example, in this diagram, we are showing like how a building and its floors, rooms, sensors, and everything is connected to each other. I have previously created this identity network for demo purpose. Actually, Yaro, who had the first webinar, he created this one. So just to give an idea that here is a building and it has a floor. It's a very practical example like how you view your apartment houses, that each building has its individual floors, and then each floor has their some rooms, as for example room 1, room 2 to room 3. Now here, one thing to make sure that you are seeing that this ground floor belongs to this connector test building with a link, and there with which the relationship is established, and the link type is belongs to. Similarly, the rooms belongs to the ground floor, and each room has sensors which belong to individually to them. And now most important thing is a data product. A data product's relationship with its sensor is a bit different from other entities. In order to add a data product to a sensor, you need to create a link from a sensor to the data product with the type AtDataProduct. And it is always an out link from the sensor to the data product. You also need to, as you can see here, that the created data product which I demoed a few minutes ago is also here, which shows connector data product. Also, you need to remember that when you are using, when you are trying to read an identity or fetch something using the identity API in Platform of Trust, you always need to remember these unique IDs, which is associated with every identity. For example, now I would show you how you can read an identity API in Platform of Trust. So simply read identity request, post the ID, and then you will see that if everything is okay, you will receive the type of that identity, which is story, the ID of the identity, and then the inlinks, which are the rooms in this case, and from which rooms they are connected to where it also shows, and the link type. And also the outlink, in which case the real estate. Sorry, not the real estate, the building. So now in my next demonstration, I'm going to show you how you can connect a data product to one of the sensors situated in one of these rooms. So format to connect a data product to a sensor. Notice this format that when you call the Platform Trust Identity API with this at this endpoint with a post request, you need to provide first the sensor ID, then the link, and then the data product ID. It has some data which includes the context and the type, which you can see it's a link type and a data product. And we will connect our created data product to room 5 sensor, which is a temperature type, temperature measuring sensor. So I'm simply copying the sensor ID and then put it into the specific place in the request. And then I'm copying the data product ID and then simply putting it in the specific part. And as I told you that you need to remember the ID that you need to use in data product, because this is needed. So make that you remember your product code and identity ID data product. Now we will call first, and we are going to insomnia. See in context is of type add, the type is add data product, and I have added some simple optional data which would be used later on. And then in the query, you simply put the made URL. Send a request to the identity API to create the link. When it is successful, you would see that the link gets created, the data gets added over there, the optional data, the type is of data product, The link ID is also presented, and it is from the temperature sensor at room 5 to the data product that we have created. And there are some optional metadata provided with the response body. Now comes the most crucial part, which is calling to a Platform of Trust broker API.
Nazia, sorry to interrupt, but your voice
This is
is
an
all
H.
interrupted. Nazia?
Yes.
Your voice is interrupted and like it's not coming so well. There are also other people who cannot receive all what you say.
Okay, but can you hear it now? Because I'm like alone here.
Yes, now yes, but sometimes it interrupts all and doesn't come like so bad.
Okay. I'll try to go a little bit slow, but if anyone has any problem hearing my voice, please interrupt me and let me know. Then I will start again from where I was, where you had some problem. But so far, has it been okay? I guess since it's a silence, so I take it as a yes. All right, so in order to use broker API, you need to have a pod signature, which is an HMAC-SHA-256 signature in base64 encoded format. The signature is created from the requested payload and the app's client secret, and hence you need the app secret and app token in that purpose. So here is a Python script which would create the signature and simultaneously will make a request to the broker API to fetch the data using the data product. As you can see, I have added the app secret and the app token. And if I continue, I need to provide this timestamp, add the data product code, add this parameter, and mention start time, end time, and data type. Make important note in creating this body hash that you need to have the indent as none and separators as comma, comma space, and colon space. Then this command creates the signature digest, and then the signature is created with this part. Set your environment to API sandbox, and then make sure you have these headers. And then we will make a post request to broker API. So now I will run this Python script. It's taking a bit time. Sorry for the typing delay. Okay, so now what happened? We are supposed to get something from here, but we didn't. So I actually created this demo effect purposefully to highlight some important aspects about translators. You need to make sure that the parameter or the body that you define in the script can be accepted by the translator, processed, and then it can send the request back via the broker API. Otherwise, you might be getting 404 responses or 500 responses if the translator is unable to receive your parameters. And for this purpose, I actually have made another video which will show a genuine purpose from one other translators added in Platform of Trust Sandbox. So here it goes. I'm playing it. Accessing the Python script here. Okay, sorry for the typo in this place. And if your translator works and it is successful, you will get this JSON body as your response. So just to see how it looks, I'm taking the response to a JSON formatter and validator, put it over here and click process. So this is the sort of data your translator would be returning to you via broker API. So going back to our connector test kit, a few words before finishing today's webinar. We presented a connector test kit that would be available for every data source. This would include test data, related data products, translators, basic testing workflow, and references to API documentations and developer guides. In future, we plan to aid data providers to push their own codes and testing into the repo. Also, we will try to build integration with Platform of Trust testing environment, which would ensure automatic deployment. We recommend that you check out our demo test kit in GitHub at the repository connector linhit with example. This has been implemented with Robot Framework, and we highly recommend you all to use and customize it for your own connector testing. Last but not the least, in Platform of Trust, we have created this Azure environment to perform end-to-end testing of translators and connected data sources. You can submit your locally tested translators to Platform of Trust, provided that you design your connector based on the Python skeleton that we have provided. In such case, we will deploy the translator to the Azure environment along with its data source system. In future, we plan to manage access for you to individual translator repository in Azure. We also plan to make automatic deployment of the translator using Platform of Trust pipeline. I believe that after this demonstration, you have a couple of questions or you want to ask some things, but I urge you to forward them to our Slack channel where we would be there to answer them to all. And this video will be available once we have got the recorded sessions and also with further resources. So I thank you all for joining me in this demonstration. So does anyone has anything to add here?
Hi, when you get a chance, can you please read the chart as well?
The Azure one.
No, in the chat window for this team meeting, there is a chat window. There are a lot of messages, and we have some audio problems when you are giving the session.
Okay. So if there is problem with the voice, but this would be available later on. So I would try to provide some subtitle with the. I would try to provide you with some subtitle with the video. So I'm stopping the recording here.